for the LGBT community. When he was governor of Texas, he was also very clear about that. So we just hope that all the preparation we had done in those years he was in office, when met with opportunity with perhaps a new president, we could indeed make strides forward. We had a plan. We definitely had a plan. It didn't really quite go according to plan, but we did have a plan. We thought, well, we'll do hate crimes first because it seemed to be the most logical, and who would ever vote against hate crime protections, right? Well, apparently, lots of people. Lots of people who felt their base would be offended if we extended any kind of protection to the LGBT community, because everybody knows they're really not first-class citizens; they're less than. So that became a challenge. When President Obama took office, and Logan and I were actually at his inauguration, Dennis was still in Saudi, so he couldn't come. His loss. It was amazing. The change in Washington was palpable. We could feel it in the air that the change was coming. We knew we had a good chance with President Obama getting hate crime legislation passed if it ever got to his desk. Well, the good news is it got to his desk and it was signed. The sort of not so good news is it was attached to a defense appropriations bill. Nobody felt it could pass on its own, which was kind of a sad statement in my view, because it still meant we had to hide that this was a positive move for the LGBT community. We still had to hide that. Luckily, Don't Ask, Don't Tell was very much on its own, and we moved forward and forward and forward. And now the only thing you have left is job protections, because, for example, in the state of Wyoming, which you can now get married, not because Wyoming chose to do that, but because the district court said you have to do that. You can get married there, yes, but when you go apply for benefit changes for your spouse, you can be fired. Because Wyoming is one of the many states left, where you can still be fired for being gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender. Many states, many. This is an anomaly that is just makes no sense. It makes no sense. The one thing remaining to do legislatively that we really need to do is pass employment non-discrimination. We've had lots of forward movement, backward movement, changes in Congress, maybe not enough, but some. Just never really seems to gain traction. We're hoping that now the furor over the Religious Freedom Restoration Act will wake people up, make them understand this animus is still out there directed at the gay community. And maybe they will take notice and changes will be done. But the Hate Crime Prevention Act, in my view, was the first step because it included in legislation, federal legislation, LGBT words, language, names, for the first time ever. This is huge. This is huge. And I was so proud and honored and saddened all at the same time to be part of that, to have a voice in that, but all because a couple of asshats decided to murder my son. So here we are. We all have the opportunity now to make huge changes, but you cannot, as residents of California, you cannot rest on the laurels that your state has enacted for your benefit. I feel that in your larger metropolitan areas, things are better. I know that the further inside the borders of California, the more strange it gets. Because when there's not a large population around, there's no diversity, there's no reason to be understanding or accepting of diversity if it's not part of your everyday life. In Wyoming, which is the best example I can give you because I live there, only 500,000 people live in the state of Wyoming. 500,000 people in the state of Wyoming. We have more sheep than people, I swear, we do. And antelope, and you name it. And we have very little diversity, and it's really hard to talk about diversity there. There are no gay bars in Wyoming. I'm not sure that's because it's unwelcoming to the gay community as much as it is nobody really lives there. But the fact is, it's hard to talk about, it's hard to observe, because people just don't feel comfortable being an other. The truth is, we are all an other to somebody. We are all an other to somebody. And when we come to realize that, we will understand how important it is to accept one another for who we are, embrace theirs and our own uniqueness, and go on in the world with respect for each other and ourselves. But please, as residents of California, don't forget about the residents of like Wyoming, where we don't have those protections. We have no hate crime laws in Wyoming, none. One of 5 states left with no state hate crime laws. This federal law was critical to us. It didn't come in time to help Matt, but now we have it because of Matt. This is critical to states like us. Indiana also happens to be a state with no hate crime laws for the LGBT community. Surprised? I don't know. So we're here to work as a community. We're here to educate ourselves about what you can do as citizens, perhaps not part of law enforcement, but as parents, educators, community leaders, members of the gay community, supporters of the gay community as allies. What you can do is huge, and that is to educate yourselves and your organizations, your friends and neighbors about what the hate crime law does and what you need to make sure that it gets done right. Because there are steps that you can take to make it beneficial to law enforcement so that they can get their job done in the way it needs to be done. And that is, you can't regard law enforcement as the bad guy. They are not the bad guy, most of the time. I remember when I was a kid, and which was like a long time ago, TV was black and white and this big. Law enforcement were the heroes of our everyday life. It's what we saw in entertainment, it's what we read in the news. They were the heroes of our life. And now, because of entertainment philosophy changes, law enforcement is the bad guy. Well, they're not the bad guy. They are there to help you. They have taken a job that pays them substandard wages, substandard benefits to help you. Help them help you. Help them help you. Talk to them, educate them, work with them. Even if you feel like they don't really understand who you are based on sexual orientation or national origin or race or religion, educate them. Help them help you. That's what I am here begging you to do. We lost man in a horrific hate crime for ignorance in a time and a place so different than now, when those 2 men thought that they could get away with hurting Matt and never have any consequences to their futures. Well, they did have consequences. They did. Would it be different in today's world? I don't know. Those people still exist. They exist everywhere. But we're here to help you understand how important you are to all of this and how it works. You are a partner in this, as U.S. Attorney Wagner has said. You are a partner, and a very important partner and ally in the whole process. And education from you to help law enforcement is really critical. To engage in a patient and understanding and compassionate way for them, because they may not be a part of what you know and what you understand, and they're trying to be. We started the Matthew Shepard Foundation right after Matt was killed on his birthday in 1998, December 1st. Because we felt like we had an opportunity to perhaps make a change, when we had a voice, when the media was ever prevalent in our everyday life. And we started because we wanted families to quit throwing away their children, because they still had their children. It sort of grew into many other things. We have a foundation now in Denver. Our executive director, Jason Marsden, is in the audience somewhere, right there. If you have any specific questions about the foundation, please ask Jason or Dennis or I or Brent Cox. Greg Miraliev, who's an instructor at the Napa Valley College, is on our board. Please engage us if you have any questions about what we do in particular. And tonight, y'all are in for a really special treat, because Dennis is with us tonight, and he's going to share some thoughts with you as well. Thank you all for coming tonight.